We are facing a situation on the border. By the end of the first term of Joe Biden, nearly 20% of all Americans will be here illegally. There are 29 million people in Texas. Joe Biden is going to let in about 30 million people in his first term, based on who we apprehend, 1 out of 3.
That's Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. The Democrats have obviously made a calculation, and it's not really a bad one, that they're willing to lose an election, maybe 2, to remake the electorate. Because people have hit the point right now. I mean, when you have 55% of Democrats telling pollsters they support Ron DeSantis' bill in Florida, support it. Democrats, 55%. That supposed don't say gay bill. It means Democrats have hit that point in their agenda that if they want to get it through, they're just going to have to remake the electorate with like 40 million more people. It's not a bad bet. Now, I know you're going to say to me, well, but, Hispanic people, they're pretty conservative. They tend to be fairly religious. They're not going to go for all this transgender stuff. Oh, yeah, they will. Yeah, you know what the Democrats are betting? It's not a bad bet. They're betting that if voters in Peru put a Marxist leader in there, if voters in Honduras put an open socialist anti-Semitic leader in there, just elected, and if the folks of Mexico put in Obrador, who campaigned openly as a Marxist, if they can bring enough of those people here, they can get elected and make sure the Republican Party is never a serious challenge again. But the numbers could be even bigger than that, because 2 crises that I swear the elites are deliberately fomenting are about to hit. And this is why Joe is throwing the border open right now, or the people who run his administration anyway. It's in anticipation of that food shortage, which, by the way, they're now calling a famine. Have you noticed the wording on this is getting worse and worse? Yeah, well, buried in this Politico article, the article's "We See the Storm Coming, U.S. Struggles to Contain a Deepening Global Food Crisis." Buried in here, there's something with Chris Coons. He's a Democrat out of Delaware, and Republican Senator Lindsey Graham warning that when the food crisis hits, and it's going to be really bad in these third world countries, that it could trigger. They're actually saying they think it will trigger. Those widespread food shortages could trigger mass migration and political destabilization from North Africa to the Middle East to Central and South America. And then that, in turn, would threaten U.S. national security as an unimaginable number of people mob the border. So that 18,000 people a day estimate, you probably heard by now, right? Just came out from the Department of Homeland Security. That's, by the way, adds up to 500,000 a month and 6 million a year. It's probably low. That's right. It's probably low. That's really mind-boggling. So 6 million a year, that'd be 15 million by the end of the Biden administration. Plus about 45% of illegal immigrants, remember, come in on visas. They fly in and they just don't bother to leave. We have no visa exit system to track these people, which is outrageous because Congress has funded one, the creation of one, not once but twice, and demanded that it be launched. And it just never was. There actually was one during the Bush administration, but they declared that it didn't work very well, so they dismantled it. The first one they didn't even bother to build. And then the money from the second one, I don't know where it went, but after Bush shut it down for repairs, it just never came back online again. That wasn't an accident. So that's how he gets to the 30 million figure that he's using. That's the 15 million that'll go over the border, and probably like 12 million more roughly that'll overstay their visas, 12, 13 million, right? But throw in the Politico article, the warning from Kuntz and Graham, and now Andy Biggs that no, with this food shortage driving it, it's going to be even higher. I bet they're right. Like, how much higher are we talking, Representative Biggs?
DHS's number, which I view as a floor, not a ceiling, they say it's going to be 18,000 a day. 18,000 a day. I personally think you're going to be hitting somewhere between 20 and 30,000 a day coming across. Their cartels are already advertising. They're putting together big these caravans to come on up, and so you're going to see a lot more people coming across. Our communities are going to be overrun. And by the way, when we get overrun dealing with the human trafficking and smuggling across the border and these illegal folks being apprehended, that's when drugs just go rampant across our southern border. That's when terrorists enter our border. And we're talking right now, last year, the estimate is as high as 800,000 people illegally snuck into the country. They were not apprehended. They were the gotaways. We don't know who they are, where they're from, what their intentions are. It's gonna look dramatic.
Okay, so that was from the Breitbart podcast. So how many a year is that again? That's 10 million plus another 10 million plus another 5 million, right? 2.5 years left in the Biden administration. It's 25 million people. Plus, you got to figure then there's going to be the visa overstays at least another 10 million for that. You doing the math there? That's 30 to 35 million people. I mean, in the annals of human history, has there ever been a migration that big before? I mean, I don't know. Historically, I'd have to look it up. I bet it's the biggest ever. And Biden's planning it. Never forget, I've told you this before, what Biden wrote in his Biden-Sanders platform on his campaign website that he wrote with Bernie Sanders, that they plan to welcome all of the world's migrants. And they estimated that would be somewhere between 130 million and 160 million. Well, folks, at that point, you almost need a famine, some sort of cataclysmic world event to get them all in here. And that's clearly what they're aiming for. Remember what Biden told us he was gonna do when he was on the campaign trail.
What I would do as president is several more things. I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are.
And how big would the wave be, Joe? He described the wave he wanted to create in 2015 when he was talking about the border crisis that Barack Obama was having at the time, which was a massive wave, but nothing compared to what Joe's running down there right now.
And the wave still continues. It's not going to stop, nor should we want it to stop. As a matter of fact, it's one of the things I think we can be most proud of. An unrelenting stream of immigration. Non-stop. Non-stop. Folks like me who were Caucasian of European descent, for the first time in 2017, will be in an absolute minority in the United States of America. Absolute minority. Fewer than 50% of the people in America from then and on will be white European stock. That's not a bad thing. That's a source of our strength.
By the source of our strength, he means the Democrat Party, not the country. So, look, they only need, maybe they can lose a couple of elections, do this, they only need to retake the House, retake the Senate, retake the presidency one time. And on average, about once every 12 years, the Democrats control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So all they need to do is the amnesty, and that's it. It's over. It is over. So this is what they're working toward, and this is what you're going to begin to see on the border, that unrelenting wave. This is why the Biden administration has teamed up with the U.S. military, right? Because remember, we caught him. Tucker Carlson caught him hiding these people on bases and shipping them around. This is why the Biden administration has teamed up with the U.S. military, which isn't even supposed to be operating on our soil, to move these people around the country. Remember when the executive of Westchester County, New York, caught them flying these illegals in the middle of the night? And it went national, it went viral, and they stopped it for a while. And he put a request in with the Biden administration for information. Who are these people? Where are they going? And most importantly, how many of them are you moving illegally, by the way, because they're aiding and abetting. That's a crime. How many of them are you moving illegally into the country? He couldn't get an answer, but he was back on Tucker the other night to let you know the flights have resumed. The Biden administration is moving them in again. This has got to be a massive operation by them.
In August 13th, when I blew the lid on this, had a press conference, wanted to know who was coming in, were they vaccinated? We had public health issues, public safety issues, public's right to know, and dead silence other than calling me and everybody who questioned them a racist and a hater. And then the New York Post did a great job blowing it up, and then the flight stopped for a while. Still no answers, though. Now the flights have resumed. One came in Sunday night. You have the video of them deplaning and the buses. And one just came in 1 hour ago to Westchester County Airport. and they're deplaning right now. So this is going to continue. And the Biden administration must have such contempt for Americans that they're importing people from other countries, flying them into the interior and just dispersing them, and then turning them into voters like New York City, where they will be allowed to vote with 30-day residency. And Governor Kathy Hochul, she has set up a $2 billion fund in New York, so that's a magnet for free stuff for anyone to come here. So they get a phone, then they get the El Paso Express to Westchester and everywhere else, and then they get almost all the other goodies. And the entire time, we, the citizens, won't even get an answer from our government, and we get stuck with the tab.
Will this dastardly plan succeed? I don't know. But the only way out, if it does, will be for states to leave the union. That is, if they're still red or purple enough to vote to do so. That's the plan. See, that's why they need all these voters. Right now, even if they don't open the border, they got enough illegals in here that if they do amnesty, the Democrat Party will pretty much control Congress, the Senate, and the White House for the rest of time. So why do this? Why do they need these massive numbers? Remember why? It was one of the first Battleground podcasts I ever did. Because they want to rule it all. They want to rule the whole nation. They don't want states leaving. For that, they're going to need 40 to 60 million more illegals on top of the 20 mil that we already have and have had here in the country for a while. So they're making an all-out bid for power. They want to make sure that states like mine, like South Carolina, Utah, Idaho, you name it, are at least purple. That you just can't get the votes to leave. I don't know if they'll succeed, but it's what they're doing.